Hey everybody, word from the Woodshop, number 17, 18, something like that. I don't remember, and I'm not redoing the video, so I forget what number it is. Getting it done a little late today, had a pretty full day. A good day though, had a really good day, but just needing to get this out there. What I'm going to do tonight is a little different than what I've done before. A lot of times during the year, I'll get asked, what are my favorite books? What am I reading now? What books impacted you? So what I've decided to do was today, to do a little just preview of some books that have really impacted my marriage. So what I'm hoping to do, periodically is give you a theme of different books that have made an impact in my life. So I'm going to talk about three, and I'm going to talk about those three in order. Now I will want to at the beginning tell you this, that none of this takes precedent over Scripture, the Bible. That's first and foremost. However, I think learning from people that explain biblical principles and things in life is also something that we need to do as well. But Scripture is always the foundation of that. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to talk about three books. I'm going to put the links down in the description. You can find them on Amazon or wherever. I'm sure they got Kindle books you can get, and or books that are read to you if you drive a lot. So first one, I'll give you a little history. All of these have a little story. Not going to go into great detail. But I remember I was at a youth pastors conference in Colorado years ago. And it was called Wilderness. It was actually called Mahanaim, I think, was the first name of it. And it was a little bit too hard to say. And it was just called Wilderness. And it was a retreat for youth pastors. And I went the first time with David Lee and Alan Morris, two good friends. Alan has passed away, but still his impact he had on my life is still ongoing. Great guy. And David Lee, one of my best friends, they were talking about this book, The 5 Love Languages. And they said, "Bean, you ought to read that book. You ought to read that. It's a really good book." And I'm like, yeah, whatever, And so they kept talking about it, and then I heard it again, and people were hearing it again. I was like, okay, well, I'll probably get it. So I bought The 5 Love Languages, and immediately things clicked for me. And here's what happens. When you get married, you are imprinted, you grow up on how you have seen your parents love each other. They might have different love languages, and you don't even know what those are. And so you grow up thinking, this is the way I need to love my wife. This is the way I need to treat my husband, those kinds of things. And when I read The 5 Love Languages, it really clicked for me. It was one of probably the best book on marriage relationships that I have ever read. I think partly because it gives you meat, it gives you hands and feet and things to do. So I don't have a book to show you, so I'm going to show you a printed out copy because we couldn't find ours, because it's probably somewhere, some way we gave it away. We have given away, I don't know how many of these books to young couples and family members that are getting married. And it is 5 Love Languages, Gary Chapman. You can find a lot of resources online. You can actually take a test online to learn about your love language. And this is why this is important and why this book was meaningful to me. In the book, I'm not going to go into great detail, but in the book, it talks about 5 love languages. Everybody has basic 5 love languages. Everybody has all of them, but everybody has a major love language, how you express love and how you receive love. And so, for instance, I think it's encouraging words, quality time, touch, gifts, and acts of service. Those are the 5 love languages. And for me, when I read Julie's love language, I sort of knew where she was coming from. And it also, it made clear to me some of the obstacles that we've had in our marriage, because I was trying to do things that she might would have liked, but it wasn't her core love language. And let me give an example. Julie's love language is acts of service. That's her love language. If she gets up in the morning during the school year and she gets up a couple hours early to teach in China, because she teaches English in China, then she gets ready, she goes to school, she comes home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, depends on the day, and she walks in the house and the house is a wreck. Not because of anything she did, but because the house is a wreck, because the kids didn't pick up after themselves, Brian didn't pick up after himself, yada, yada, yada. And so that, in being her love language, says, I'm not appreciated, I'm not loved, and that creates tension in our house. But if she gets up in the morning, teaches in China, goes to school, comes home at 5 o'clock, and she sees that the dishes were washed and put away, she sees things done, what that tells her is that fills up what Gary calls their love tank. And if I was to give Julie flowers, she would think they're cute the first time. Gifts is a love language. Some people have their gifts is a love language. The second time, she would yell at me for spending the money, because it's just not her thing. For me, my love language is physical touch. And so physical touch for me is my main love language, not necessarily sexually, although that's okay too. But, if I'm having a bad day and Julie comes up and puts her arm around me, or if I'm getting ready to go preach and she grabs my hand and says, go get him, I'm praying for you, I could take on an army. That just is all I need. And so The 5 Love Languages was a book that was fantastic. It really impacted our marriage, and it still does to this day. I know I know my kids' love languages. I can be intentional then. That's the whole thing about this, is you be intentional about their love language. And I know love languages for people in my church. I know what their love language is, so I can be intentional. And over time, you pick those up. Fantastic book. Pick it up and read it. There's one for kids. There's one for singles. There's 5 love languages for a lot of different things. But the 5 love languages for marriage was the big one. The second book that really changed our marriage and encouraged our marriage was this one right here. And actually, it was one before this one and this one. This was just a redo of his book before that. Dave Ramsey's FPU class, phenomenal. Didn't know a whole lot about managing money growing up. Didn't have it to manage, actually. And so, made some mistakes early and paid for those for years after that. And so I wish I would have had this particular book early in my single and married life. I have taught the FPU class now, I think 7 times. I'm a certified master financial coach for Dave Ramsey. I've been down to the week-long training, which was about 11 hours a day. Pretty intense, fantastic stuff. I really enjoy this. And one of the things I've done over the years, I've started to do, and some of them have gotten a little mad at me about it, but whenever I have married, people wanting to get married, I make sure that they get a copy of this and that they sit down and do a budget before they get married. And this is something that I've started doing. And if they won't do a budget, I won't do their wedding. Because the number one reason why they'll get a divorce is money problems, money issues. That's the number one thing. If you can communicate with finances and communicate, debt, and you work together, it would do some fantastic things in your marriage. For Julie and I, this was a huge thing for us. It brought us together. It made us stronger. We still fight. We don't fight together over money, but we fight the debt thing. We were trying, there's the ebbs and flows, but we sometimes we do really well. Sometimes we tend to slack off a little bit, which is not what David would want to hear. But it's a fantastic book. I've given these away to high school graduates, college graduates, young couples. I can't tell you how many of those books I've given away. Great book. There's budgeting tools in there. There's money pitfalls to stay away from. And a lot of you will not like Dave because most of the financing things that you do is things you want right now, and saving, working for them, and not paying a bank to your hard-earned money over the years, and end up investing that money instead. You'll do really well. So that's a great book. Total Money Makeover is really good. I highly recommend it. Last one's this one, and it's Choosing to Cheat by Andy Stanley. It's not a very big book. It's actually a little small. Actually, it's about this size. It's not very big, but it's a book that it talks about who wins when family and work collide. It's basically one of those books that addresses those guys that are workaholics, or those ladies that are workaholics, and choosing to cheat is an interesting title, because when we hear somebody cheated, it automatically these negative things, or somebody cheated in a ball game, somebody cheated on a test, somebody cheated at work, automatically this cheat thing is a negative connotation that comes to our mind. But choosing to cheat means choosing to cheat the right things, for the right things, for your family, for your marriage, for your kids. And so it's a fantastic book. I have given away a lot of these books. Mainly I've given a lot away to men, although there has been some women that have got that book. It's a really good book on the stress of being a workaholic causes on the family, where a guy, his whole pride, his whole being is about providing and working and providing. And sometimes that can get out of whack for us, and we really lose focus of the real meaningful things, like family time. And what happens is we'll cheat our family and ask God to take care of when we're not there. And Andy sort of says, let's reverse that a little bit. Every day you cheat something, believe it or not. You cheat something. If you're going to go fishing, afternoon after work, you're cheating something to do that. So really, we all have these decisions to make. So the things that we're actually doing, are they really worth the time and the energy and the money, resources that we're putting into them? Are they eternal? So Choosing to Cheat is one of my favorite books, and that's a very, very easy read. It's a powerful read. I've had some guys read this and it rocked their world in a way that it totally transformed their way of thinking at home and in business and things like that. Again, The Total Money Makeover is a book that I would highly recommend, and Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. So this is what I want to do for Word to the Woodshop. Just pass on some things that were meaningful to me. You might read these and think they're a dud. Say, what are you talking about, Bean? That's just terrible. It's a terrible book. For me, God put it in my life at the right time and the right moments. And so I just want to pass those along. And so, as we go through, the Word from the Woodshop later, we can talk about different books that I've read that have meant a lot to me in my spiritual walk and parenting and things like that. So maybe we'll look at those later. So Word of the Woodshop is basically, check these out. If you've already done that, and maybe you want to read them again, or pass them along to somebody that will benefit from them. So I love you. Hope you're having a great week, and God bless you. Have a good one.